introduce our two groups of speakers for today. The idea of self-access for extensive reading is baked into the activity, where we all encourage our students to find their own books and find their own voice. Let me turn it over to them. First, Noriko would like to remind us about presenters. So let me turn it over to her for a moment.
Okay, welcome to our SIG forum. We hold a presenters session every last Sunday online, and it's free. And we have presenters talking about extensive reading, how they do it in their class, and what effects we get from the students. So if you're interested and if you have time, please come join us. It's free, and as long as you have a Zoom, you don't even have to sign up. So please take a flyer later, because I'll leave it here. And I'll pass it over.
When is the next one?
Next one is May 25th.
Next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
And if you want to see this face, I did one last month.
Which reminds us that we have the presenters on YouTube. So if you missed anything, it's a whole catalog of the ER presenters added to your podcast diet.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Pat.
Okay. YouTube has got the main presentation and everything, but usually after we turn off the recording, we go into related topics, whether or not it's copyright and how we can share books without getting in trouble and stuff like that. So the discussion kind of continues on after that, so come on into Zoom too if you can.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. Okay, well, let's turn it over to the main attraction here. We're going to hear from, whoops, show myself where Push. All right, and we'll turn it over to our first crew. Why don't you introduce yourself and let's start.
Sweet. Okay, hello everyone, and Romain Jourdan-Ôtsuka, teaching French, and I'm here today with my colleagues Grigory, Misoschko, and Anna Barinova, teaching Russian, and we're all from Kyoto University of Foreign Studies. And today we're talking on the behalf of a few other members who could not make it today. Damian Arrieta, teaching Spanish, and for English we have Rebecca Kalman, Tomoko Kasamaki, and Mami Yoshida. So that's a big group. And today we'd like to talk about how we do collaboration in extensive reading at Kyoto Gaidai, KUFS Kyoto Gaidai. That's how we call it. It's going to be very simple. First, we will explain you how we do extensive reading in a few different, in 4 different languages. And then we explain how we promote ER at the university level altogether. A quick word about our university. It's a medium-sized university of around 5,000 students. We have 9 language departments: English, Spanish, French, German, Italian, Portuguese, Chinese, Japanese, and Russian. We have 2 specialized departments: Global Studies, where everything is done in English, and Global Tourism, and there's also a junior college, Tanki Daigaku. And we have a big English program for extensive reading, which includes all of the English department majors, Global Studies, Global Tourism, junior college, and also every English minor. And we also have a French program, Spanish, Russian, and we're working with our Italian and Portuguese colleagues to help them start their program this year. And we also have 2 extensive reading research groups, one for general ER and one specific for non-English ER. So first we will talk about how we do ER with a focus on, well, 2 or 3 things. How we select the books, sort them, and make them available. And then how we assess how the reading is done, and also more generally how the curriculum integration is done. Do they get credit for reading and that kind of thing. And I will start with introducing the English ER program. So it's the oldest one because it was started 15 years ago by Aaron Campbell with only 2 classes at junior college, and with the goal to create a faculty-wide program. At first, they already had a pretty good physical extensive reading library, dedicated library, and they introduced, Aaron introduced a Moodle reader that was designed by Tom Robb a couple of years ago, before. And it's an LMS, Learning Management System, which means it's a quiz platform, and it also tracks all the reading done by the students. So it's very helpful and convenient for teachers. And from the start, each class had a different word count objective, that many words they have to read per semester based on proficiency level. Okay? And on the right side, you have a few papers anyway, on the last slide, there's a QR code. Maybe you saw it on the first slide. It would be also on the last slide, so you can get all of the references. Sorry about that. So from 2014, the curriculum started, and then the English year program exploded. I see Paul nodding. Paul knows everything about the program.
I didn't know this. This is I had no idea.
Okay, good, fine. And so from 2014, we have like 2,000 students doing ER in English and 60 teachers involved across every department. It's a big program. And at the time, they were still using mReader and the physical library. So mReader was only the quizzes. But the library itself grew from less than 1,000 titles to 2,500 titles, so it grew massively. And the books were sorted and are still sorted by the mReader scale, which is based on Edward Camp, pretty standard thing. But in 2020, COVID-19 happened, and the physical library closed, and we shifted completely to X-Reading. That's why I was talking about Paul, because he's the founder of X-Reading.
Excellent idea.
And so during a few years we were using only X-Reading, but then when everything opened back again, we went back to a hybrid system. Extensive reading, willkommen. And so we still have the physical library with 3,000 titles, and also X-Reading with 1,200 titles, some being the same. But students can use both. And X-Reading is used as the LMS, which means it's tracking everything that is being read by the student, and teachers are using it to give credits. And as you saw on the right side, my English colleagues have been documenting this experience over 10 years. So there are a few very interesting reading, if you have time. And quick note, so on the recent change in the English year program, so it used to be heavily focused on semester goals, but teacher, so as I said earlier, each semester, each proficiency level has different goals, but teacher found out that it can bring too much pressure on, let's say, some students, maybe not on students, and maybe a decrease of motivation, which sometimes lead to academic dishonesty, so meaning cheating. Paul made a few very interesting presentations on that topic. So that was an issue with the English program. So recently they've been experimenting with new things from this year. So with a heavier focus on the physical library, no word count goals for at least first year, I think, and more reading in the classroom, having everyone keeping reading logs, and more post-reading activities to build a strong reading community. That's what they're doing at the moment. So that's for the English department, now English ER program, now the French ER program. So I studied it in 2021. I had no idea about the English ER program because we were not talking that much between departments. And so the reason I studied it is that my daughter, who was 6 at the time, was going to the French school in Kyoto, and in the French school in Kyoto they were doing a lot of extensive reading, L1 extensive reading. And so I decided to do the same. So they had quizzes and a selection of books. It's more or less extensive reading as you know it. And one issue I had is we have no sorting system, no scale. The books don't give you the head count or whatever. So I decided to start counting manually the words in the books. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Better than nothing, right? Better than... Oh yeah, see? They have one, I have one in my bag too. We do that. Okay?
Oh my gosh.
How do you say OCD in French?
OCD. It's the fastest way we found, okay? And one feature is that since I was taking the inspiration from the French system, I use a lot of L1 material, as you can see here. Well, not only French, but so meaning children's books and also level readers that are very good. And also another feature is that I use a lot of very short books. Like 80% of my catalog is under 1,000 words, and which is an image unbelievable for graded readers. Like French A1 graded reader starts at 3,000, 4,000 words. My student cannot read that. Anyway, and the catalog is a Word file, okay, with books sorted by word count, and with links to Microsoft Forms quizzes. And that's it. That's my homemade X-reading. No, except you cannot, and yeah. And another thing is that physical books are in the classroom. I bring them every day, like this, display. But also many books are available on YouTube as read alouds. And I also use a lot of online public domain books. So everything is legal. No. It has to. It has to. We're not screwing with the writers, the publishers. Okay, we're helping each other. And so 62% of the books are available online, and we also have 30 titles in French from X-Reading, and thank you again for that. For French, it's a mandatory activity from 2nd to 4th year. We have 110 students involved, and it's worth 25% of final grade. Not a joke. And also, we have an activity where students pick new books every month and design quizzes, and I have a few examples here. Feel free to look at the documents later. And that's it for French, and moving to Spanish with my Russian colleague.
Here's Daniel.
I will say some words about Spanish PR program. The first experiment started 5 years ago in 2020, and then officially the program started 3 years ago. Daniel is responsible for that, and currently there are so it's a mandatory program for all, not all, but more than 100 students who take those classes from 1st to 4th grades. And he does a lot of research in ER about students' attitudes towards reading. There is a slight difference between French and Spanish ER programs. As a French program, the Spanish one also has a variety of short physical books, but they have also graded readers and also comics and non-fiction, different kind of books. They are sorted not only by a number of words, but also by difficulty and other factors. So the school year, classification by school years, and so on. And for the assessment, so they don't have specific grades for ER in that program, but they do many ER-related activities during classes. Those activities are assessed, so they are writing short reports, they have post-reading communicative activities, they are making some videos, and they are actually writing books. So the students are writing books by themselves. We have 2 examples of books here.
If you want to have a look, student graded readers.
But they don't have quizzes, so it's not assessed by the quizzes like English, French, and Russian programs. These are also the examples of the books written by Spanish department students. Okay, and their library consists of 176 books, and 460 more are available in the university ER library. It's here. So, and as I mentioned, I don't have specific credits for ER, but it is a mandatory compulsory activity. Okay, so let's move to the Russian program. It's actually the Russian department is youngest in our university. It was founded 5 years ago, and we joined this ER non-English ER club 2 years ago. Actually, French, Spanish, and Russian department started a research group. And the Russian program officially started 1 year after the Spanish one in 2024, and me and Anna are responsible for that program, so we are doing it together. All students from first to fourth year participate in our program. It's the smallest department, so currently we have only 55 students from first to fourth years, and for the first year students, we started in fall semester, not in spring semester. Okay, so currently it's spring, so only students from the second year taking part in this program. And our system is really close to the French one. We use the same sorting system by word count. It's mostly L1 books because we don't find many great readers, and especially here in Japan. We have an Excel online catalog, and we have MS Forms quizzes. And our quizzes have short summaries, both in Russian and Japanese, so it takes some time to create those quizzes. And another problem is that many books published in Russia are not just one short story in a book. So it may be 10 short stories just in one physical book, so it's not very convenient for our purposes. That's why we have 200 books and 300 or 400 potential quizzes. We haven't made all these quizzes yet, and nowadays it's almost 100 quizzes are available for students. It's enough for the number of the students that we have, but we are working on new quizzes every week actually. It's a mandatory activity, and in our case it's up to 10% of the final grade. And we also have post-reading activities, including students' presentation on favorite books they have read. And that's our catalog, and actually students can also see the data about the difficulty and it's interesting points. So the students are telling how interesting the book was in the quizzes, and then we give this information back to the students in the catalog, so they can see all this information as well. So let me move to the conclusion of the part one. So our English and non-English programs are different because English has much more resources available, and I'd like to say that as we have found, so it is still possible to start ER in a non-English language, even with a limited number of children's books, with a simple sorting system and so on. So it was possible, and we managed it for 2 languages, for 3 languages as well, and some new languages are going to join as well. And we are still looking for a good LMS platform because making quizzes is quite a difficult task for us. And English program has its own issues because it's big size. So this cheating problem, of course, and thinking about teacher training and so on. But whatever however, the differences are we share a common passion for ER, and we are working on these programs together. Okay, so let me speak about how we promote ER, and I will just tell you about the early years. It was just English program, as Romain has mentioned. So in 2014, English ER research group was created, and they were promoting books in order so that to encourage students to read more books and to help them the right book, to help them find the right book. So they had some events, and our colleague Rebecca Kalman and her colleagues started designing book lists and book displays on various topics, and this information was shown in the library, and they changed the vision every month, and it was useful for students. And also the book lists were handed to the teachers who were in charge of reading classes. And we also have special budgets. So for students who manage to read some specific amount of words, they got some kind of special design budgets, and it also promoted the reading, yes. And another, I think it's my final slide, yeah. So every year we are holding an award ceremony. It started in 2014 as well. It was first only English, and top readers in each class are getting certificates and sometimes some book coupons. So the chair department is giving the certificate to the students, and the top reader's name is also published on the website, and X Reading contributes actually to the ceremony.
Just to be clear, we were not contributing the baby.
Okay.
Yes, we contributed the prizes.
Okay, so
I will just read, and you also can read the part I didn't. So now it's about promoting the books. So from 2020, because of COVID, the library was closed, so we couldn't do it like physically on the library. But after that, French department and the Spanish department, they joined the English ER research group, and from there the library was open, and now we have many events, activities. For example, there are activities every semester about like some events, like for example Christmas or Halloween. So we read some books in different languages for students who want to listen. Also from 2024, we have books display and book list in 3 languages. Hopefully this year we also will add the Russian ones too, and we will try. And also reading recommendation were published in the library newspaper. Now it's for Spanish and the French department. So this one is also very good opportunity for students to borrow some books, because French and Spanish department, they ordered some books, and there is a place students can come and pick them up. And also there are quizzes, so they can do it like if they have time. So it's like they can read more books. And as you can see that because of this, there is a place, this is like they can come and borrow. You can see for French books, they really increased in 1 year, 700%. So, and there is also collaboration between us, the teachers and librarians, so we discuss which books to buy, and it also helps a lot. And also we do promoting readers, like as we already mentioned before about this ER award ceremony. So in the beginning it was only English, then Spanish and Russian, and we hope that this year the Portuguese and Italian will also join us. Usually it's like in January, when we already know the results of how many books students read. And again, thank you for the X-reading, because it was first time for us, and I think students finally understood that it was worth it. Like they got the prize certificate, they understood that they really did a good job during this 1 year. They could see their results. And this was a program of last year ceremony. And some more pictures, so you can see Spanish department, French and Russian. And here the English, and you can see Rebecca, Mami and Tomoko. So they couldn't join us today, but they really help us a lot with making this presentation. This is also many people still don't know about this program, even teachers who are teaching English. So we try to do many seminars and in and outside of our university. And for example, at our university we have FD session twice a year. So for example, Romain, he did already like two presentations about what he was doing. That is why we knew about this program, and I remember it was COVID, and I could understand that it's really very important program. So outside of KUFS, it's also we have many conferences in English, French, Spanish, and Russian. Here you can see some research papers in English. Here is other languages. And the conclusion, yeah, so you can read it. So the most important one that we really learn a lot from our colleagues who teach English, and because they have a lot of experience and connections and how to do it. For them it's maybe a little bit easy to do, but as we can see, we have also passion, especially we try to keep up, but sometimes it's a little bit difficult. But it's really fun, because all of us, we also like to read, and we want our students to read. So the passion, you have to show to your student that we also like to do it. It's not kind of homework. It's something that you really have to enjoy, and you can enjoy, and so the motivation is very important. And and so now you can see that because we have a lot of departments together, so we can share our ideas. So I think from now on it's going to be even better, we hope. So, and the last one, thank you, merci, gracias, спасибо.
And the QR code is still available, so feel free to download the whole PDF. Thank you for your time.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, guys.
My bag's in here. I've got it on back.
All right, thank you guys. Okay, Mark, up to you.
Thank you. I can talk about
That's my Monday lesson.
Your Monday lesson will be nice.
Shinshu University is not an international university of languages. I shall say no more about Shinshu University, except different presentation.
What a great start.
So, but I'm going to talk about 5 relationships within the institution, with Seikyo, the bookshop, with other faculty, with the e-learning centre, with the library, and with other teachers. And this is the ER Hero's Journey. And it kind of starts off with Krashen, who is the hero of my colleague at the university who started about 20 years ago when we started doing extensive reading. And this is what Krashen was talking about, the super library, that is a necessary condition. Obviously, if you want, as you will have realised, if you want to start an extensive reading programme, you need books, or you need something to read. Otherwise, it's not going to start. So there are 3 problems that we have. First of all, which books should we get? How do we find money to buy them? And then where do we put them? So we had this idea for getting books with no money. We thought, well, let's get we'll get the students to buy the books, and then they'll put them into the class libraries, which at the beginning were these boxes that we would carry around from classroom to classroom through the rain and snow. And the students were quite happy because the graded readers are much cheaper than textbooks. And we had this system where the students could reclaim their book at the end of the year, that they had to go to a classroom at 9 o'clock in the morning on the 4th floor. So it was a kind of opt-out rather than an opt-in session. But the expectation was that they would donate their books to us for good, which they were quite happy about, which I'll maybe come on to later. This was kind of part of learner autonomy, so instead of the course book being chosen by the teachers, the students were choosing their own books. And they literally owned, it was literally their books in the library, so they were kind of stakeholders and stockholders in this system. In order to do this, we had to work with a university bookshop, who is not really a retailer. They don't really, we thought, oh, we can just get the students to go and buy a book from the Seikyo. And Seikyo said, no, that's not going to happen. So we had to, they used to just, here's an order, and they will take an order for 30 textbooks for your class, and if any are left over, they want to send them straight back and get a refund. So we worked out this system at first where the students would work out orders and send orders for the books that they wanted into Seikyo, and then Seikyo would go and order those books. And this kind of worked. And it kind of worked, it had some, we guessed that there were about level 1 or 2 at the beginning, until we saw their results on the EPUB, the Edinburgh Project on Extensive Reading Test. And we met Professor Sakai Sensei, who said, why are these books, why have you got such difficult books? And so we went down later to starters. And we had catalogues, we had book catalogues of graded readers as a kind of as a learner activity, as a very real task-based activity. There was a real task where they would use their real money to buy a real book. I think after a few years, we managed to persuade the bookshop to actually just buy a load of graded readers, and then we would get all of our students to go in and buy one and choose one, and so we could more or less decide which ones we were getting. Cultural attitudes. Luckily, we're very lucky in Japan doing extensive reading. I think it's no coincidence that Japan is one of the centres in the world for extensive reading, because it's a very rich print culture. Printed matter is affordable. At the same time, it's also taken for granted. So while our students are very happy to donate their books at the end of the year, they were also very happy to lose them in the middle of the year. I'm very happy to borrow a book and not give it back again. So we were losing loads of these books that we were getting. So what happened in the middle of this is we were starting off just a couple of teachers, and then maybe 4 or 5 other teachers joined us, carrying these books around the building. our own library. And then there was the next 5-year curriculum cycle, which was a highly standardized curriculum with over 30 teachers teaching the same. They had these innovations like they would have the same class and have one teacher teach them on Monday and another teacher on Thursday, and they would know who the other teacher was. Amazing, amazing innovation. They've said this was a 5-year. The good news is that this ER, extensive reading, was added as a component, as a key component to this curriculum, this coordinated curriculum. But the bad news, of course, was after 5 years, the curriculum was scrapped. And so after those 5 years, it was kind of, it wasn't forbidden. But extensive reading had gone from very, very quickly going to be everyone doing extensive reading to it being optional. So, yes, I could talk more about that, but I won't do. So, what good news is we got money, which meant that we could develop materials, we could do staff development, we could start getting more books, and start buying more books for the library. We were still using our system of getting the students to buy a graded reader as part of their course stuff. And we got some book trucks, so we could now wheel around, instead of having to carry these boxes, we could now wheel these book trucks around. The book trucks are very popular with teachers, and there are different ways that you can use a book truck. You can kind of use them as a display, wheel them into the classroom, and the students look on the tree. Or you can take them off them, you use them to deliver books, put the books, spread the books around so those students can browse at their leisure. Or you could use it just for carrying your stuff to the class and ignore the books. So we had these systems, again, we developed these systems, we had kind of colour-coded book trucks and colour-coded books and all these borrowing sheets, and we had students responsible for the paperwork and policing, and continue to lose loads of books. So another thing, while this happened, there was the e-learning centre. We started to work together because because of the coordination of the system. They were using Blackboard at the time, but we were using an online system to coordinate the grading between the two classes because they had a single grade for their 2 lessons. The Blackboard changed into Moodle, and the university's IT department started to get involved with e-learning. And we started to work, so we had this a very confusing problem, which is we wanted to keep track of how much the students were reading, which before we'd had all this elaborate paper system and these big folders with all these different book counts for all the different books. And so we commissioned a system to keep track of the books, which was the ERS project, which is still ongoing. So our agenda basically was to try and make word counting easy, and to collect data on the books and what books students were reading. For the e-learning, this was a very good programming project for their graduate students in the engineering department. It was also gave access to the student population for research, and also led to a Kakenhi application. And in fact, we've now had 6 Kakenhi applications, which the first one of which led to the ERS, which is an online system. The next one led to the extensive reading, the ERS placement test, which again is still being used, which came out of collaboration again with the IT department. And the most recent one, there's one that's ongoing with Gary, which we will be talking about, Joel Call. Yeah. And another one we'll be talking about tomorrow with Corinna about manga and children's books in German. Tomorrow at 1 something.
Yes, 1 something, 15.
But to be honest, the main agenda for all of these Kakenhi, the number 1 priority is getting more books. And because of course we can't, from a research perspective, obviously you can't do any extensive reading research if no one's reading, and if you don't have books, you can't do any reading. So really, these are the whole Kakenhi research issue. Again, that's another presentation. Money for books. So another thing we kind of found with this is the perfection curve. So when you're developing software, we do software development. It starts off with there's a curve where getting to 100% is increasingly takes a lot of time. And for software developers, this is the interesting part. Down here. For users, this is the interesting part. So when you're using a computer system, you don't want like 90% of the time your students can log on. You really want them to be able to log on 100% of the time, or very close to 100%. However, for software developers, that's really boring. The interesting part is adding on new functions and adding new systems, and then designing the system at the beginning is the most interesting part. So there's this kind of gap in the middle that may be familiar to anyone who's dealt with software development. So we have this is the ERS. This is the second version of the ERS system that we had, which I think was kind of the best version. So again, we're now on version 4 of the ERS software. And the first one was a very hands-on system where the students could go in and basically put in the book that they were reading and add the book count, and that works very well. As it went later, it went into visual improvements and the idea of the community functions, and then started using an SNS software to build functionality on top of that. So the idea of communities, when you talk to a teacher, the communities that we think about are the community of readers among our students and the community among teachers with colleagues. As far as programmers, a community is a function that people can click, and if they get more people to click the function, then the community is working. So what's one thing that with just in general, when you're collaborating and working with other people, often the agenda is different, and for things to continue successfully, you need to be very aware of what is the agenda of the people you're working with, and make sure that you're not working against each other, that the agendas are compatible. So the problems that we had with this system, teachers actually, but the best part again of the system was teachers getting together and working out how do we keep track of word counts. ERS was a kind of virtual solution to this problem, and books are real objects. And the other thing that we became very aware of is that teachers are not librarians. But at some point we decided, well, we do have a library, and if we put the books in the library, that could be very good. Libraries are the perfect place to keep books. So after about a year, the library was horrified. They'd lost about 20 books. I think the previous year we had lost about 2,000 books. So we were saying, is that all? And they were saying, oh, this is terrible. We've lost so many books. So working with the library was very good. There's a kind of need. There's a very compatible need here. That as far as the library is concerned, they're constantly getting. They need to get recommendations for which books to buy, and often the staff don't give them enough recommendations for books. So they have this amount of budget, and they want something to buy the books with. And they need students. So graded readers are an ideal solution to our problems and to the library problems. And it turned out, so this was the economics faculty, that of the top 10 books, 4 of them were graded readers. The education faculty, these are the top 10 books that education faculty students were borrowing from the library. 9 of them were graded readers. So we are seriously helping the library by sending them students. I'm going to hand over now to the other, most important relation, of course, the teachers.
Yeah, teachers, yeah. Well, the ER heroes that we had in Shinshu still have, fortunately still have, influenced the rest of us a little bit. Well, there's not so many of us, but since we're not a language school, but yes. The book trucks that Mark mentioned before were visible because they were not rolling only around the hallways, but also when we were at lunch. Some of them were, they go through the lunchroom, pick up the last coffee or the books and go out. So they were present everywhere. and the talk at the lunch table was present. So I heard, and all of a sudden I get this, why don't you do ER? And I'm like, because I'm a German teacher. What are you talking about? My problems have two more than the ones that Mark mentioned before. I have a rather strict, fixed curriculum, and my class structure, the level is a different one to English. For the curriculum, we start from 0, and we have to get them about, well, the document is same to the English, Eken, about level 4, not the basic, but the second one if possible. Basic grammar, get all of it done if possible, and very busy, usually. And so our students come in the first year with 0 background, and we have, since it's not a language-based school, the arts faculty at the moment is the only one that has compulsory second language, other than English, and a few others. In the second year, it's basically only the arts faculty, plus 3 others. And I'm talking here, in average, I have from the arts faculty, we have about 50, 60 students. There's more in there. In the first year, in the second year, in my class, there was 25, so about 50 students in the second year, plus 3, 4 other ones. By then, they have reached maybe level C, A1. We hope. We hope. And then on, and we have German majors still that continue. And that's, I think, 8 to 10 students starting a year for the German major. So I'm like, how am I supposed to do this? With whom? Whom am I supposed to do ER with? And when? It's busy. But then the school structure. I started at Shinshu University in 2012. And over the time I realized that we have motivated students who would like to continue. But there's no classes, especially from the non-Jimbun, not the arts faculty. They have other classes that are more important. The schedule is busy. Theoretically, they can get credits, but they might have difficulties getting them as credits for their graduation credits. So that's why most of them drop out after half a year or a year. They cannot continue, but some of them want to continue. And I had even students who took the German major classes because they wanted to continue, but the German majors curve goes like this, and they have one class, so they cannot keep up with it. And so for me, it was like, how can they continue without me? And on the same side, Mark and especially David and all the other ER heroes at Shinshu University are like, why don't you do ER? Why don't you do it? And I was like, oh, maybe that's a good idea. So I asked them, well, how do you do in your classes? And they gave me all kinds of information and a stack of books and so on. And before I knew it, I was kind of drawn into this spiral of ER. And I decided to make a minimum ER. Minimum meaning, yes, I want to have people who can go autonomous after that. Second year onward, because then they have had a basic background. First 10 minutes in class, SSR. Individual, silent, ungraded. If they get one book done, that's extensively more than 0. Okay? That's why I don't grade it, and so on. So, but thanks to the ER heroes, I had a paved way ahead of me. The library was already under there, tucked under. The e-learning center had already set it up, and book funding in the beginning, as Mark already mentioned, the library has wants people to buy books, then well, why not? I can give them a list of 40 books if they want to. Okay. The students can use the system as for the English, and the library keeps the books. Before I started, we had about 43 graded readers already, level mostly A2, B1. Well, you know what I mean. So, and they were mixed in the general section for German books, so some were stuck between the high literature book and grammar books and dictionaries. So the first thing I got was have them move next to the English books in the ER section. Oh, And then we started buying books. And we got, I kind of really started EIN class in 2018, and we started with lower levels, and then also got some more manga, and then we also got some more picture books to have a higher variety. And by now we have 432 books, and we tried, it's still a lot here, a lot difficult books. A2 is a little difficult, but we increased this section and this section a lot. And yes, and we rank in the top 50 of the humanities faculty. We have 32 books in this range, and in that time we had still 14, please mark me, and in 2024 I stopped working for Shinshu University, so at that time nobody continued the ER, as far as I know. But maybe the students still read, but so this is mostly from 2003, the numbers I think. Very fast. We also have, that's something that we inherited also from the heroes, they have somebody labeling according to the Yomiyasu level for English books, and we asked for some student who could do that for German. And they sit in the library, they have a desk there, they sit in the library and read, basically, and the students managed so far 172 books. And so you can see we have some very easy ones and more difficult ones. Unfortunately, some of the children's books are seemingly rather difficult still. Yes, and I got a parasitic attitude. I linked onto the ERS, and we got the German books in there as well. So I don't use it much for assessment because I don't grade them. That's just for them. So conclusion, Master.
So collaboration is very important. I think we've got a lot to, as an English teacher, I think we also have a lot to learn from people teaching in other languages. That we're very lucky and spoiled that we have graded readers, but also picture books and children's books and manga are also great sources, great resources for the students. But when working with other people, it's always very important to understand what are the needs, what are their needs, and what is their agenda, and make sure that you have compatible goals. So, for example, we are very lucky that we worked with the library, because the library is, while the curriculums may change and teachers may come and go, once you get books in the library, they will be there as a resource for students in the future. Somewhere there is unspent budget. We were also very happy when we started to find, we went from the situation where we had no money and wanted books to we have these grants, so we have this money coming in that's allocated for buying books. And then when we find, we can buy some German books as well. Fantastic. So that somewhere there is some unspent budget in your institution that can be directed towards buying books. Unfortunately, Kagenhi is not really for maintenance. It's very good for setting up systems, but it's not really designed for maintaining systems. And maintenance is very important with many things. So that's all. So just onto the super library. One thing that I think we can maybe do positively is Foreign Book Buyers Club. If we can work together, talking to Colin from English Books, they're interested, of course, in selling books, but in order to get ship books to Japan, they need numbers. If we can work together and collaborate on book ordering for our various libraries at our various institutions, then that's something that we can maybe do, collaborate, so we can get more books and more languages. That's all. Discussion.
It sounds like a shortage of materials. I'm curious.
Just L1 books.
Different.
Oh, is it? Oh, they're different issues.
That's what you want. What would you want?
Thank you so much.
You want lower
You want easier material, yeah.